Okay, so inshallah, during this meeting, we're going to go through the first the first part of our book, which is boundaries. We're going to review some boundaries, and I'm happy to receive all your questions via the chat. So you can send me your questions via the chat. If you have any questions that you would like to ask about, you're all welcome, sure. Okay. Inshallah, now we're going to start. Okay. In this part, we're going to discuss using comma. And in the SAT, we have many sub-skills according to which we're using commas. So the first one is a comma in a series, then comma after an introductory element, comma M dash parenthesis with non-essential elements, a comma with multi-clause sentence, and finally misusing commas, run-ons. So the first part here is the comma in a series. And this series, guys, can be either a series of words or a series of phrases. So words like these, in the middle of the war, she had butter, sugar, steaks, and seam of the back stockings. And as you see here, we have commas after every item, and finally, one comma before and. This also can be the case in a sentence like this, with commas after phrases. In those days, the 40s, children were not just loved or liked, they were needed. They could earn money, so this is the first phrase. Care for children younger than themselves, second phrase. Work the farm, okay. Work the farm, and take care of the herd, run errands, and finally, and much more. So here you can see that we have many commas. Those commas are all uh, separating um, these items. Just a second, because I have some participants here. Okay. So those commas are separating the items as in here. So how is that assessed on the SAT? On the SAT, this you can find something like that. Now I'll give you a minute. The standard time of the SAT is a minute and 11 seconds per question. I'll give you a minute. Please try to answer this question. Then send me the answer via the chat, or you can simply unmute yourself and answer. Go on, please. Okay, very good. A, thank you. We don't have to read that part. In convention questions, standard English and convention questions, we don't have to read everything. All what you need to read is the second sentence, is the sentence that's targeted in the question. Okay, so among other problems, Hersey noted the reading material available to grade schoolers had a hard time competing with. Now we have the items here: television, radio, and, comma, and other media for children's attention. Another skill that's assessed on the SAT is the comma after introductory elements. In English, introductory elements can be either words, phrases, or even clauses. So, as in here, however is a word. So, however, this is not the best approach to the problem at hand. And after however, we have a comma. In those days, comma, children were not just loved or liked. In those days is a phrase. So here, word, phrase, And finally, here we have a clause. This is actually a dependent clause. So if we have a dependent clause, an initial dependent clause, we simply add a comma. Okay, so because COVID-19 spreads quickly, comma, all countries closed their borders. And after the dependent clause, we have to add a comma. So what if I start with an independent clause? We simply don't add anything. So if the sentence is all countries closed their borders because COVID-19 spreads quickly, we don't have to add anything. We don't have to add anything. That's why, because we started with an independent clause. Now, I'll give you a minute. Answer question one, please. Thank you. It is C. Thank you. Okay, good. Why is it C? When we start from the beginning here, in the years that followed is an introductory element. This is a prepositional phrase, prep phrase that works as an introductory element. Okay, and after this introductory element, we simply add a comma. Very good. Now, minute, answer question two, please. Okay, thank you. Because of the hurricane, the mayor stopped schools yesterday. So because of the hurricane is a prepositional phrase. Because simply, as you know, that because of is a preposition. And if we start with a prepositional phrase, an initial prepositional phrase, we need to add a comma. Another skill that we need to master is appositive. So before we go on, we need to know what do we mean by an appositive. The appositive simply is a phrase that defines or gives extra meaning to another element in the sentence. As in here, George Orwell, a famous novelist, is well known for his novel 1984. So, a famous novelist is an appositive, a non-essential element that tells us something about George Orwell. That's why we place it between two commas here. Another example, scientists wondered if Pluto, an escaped moon of Neptune, a planet with many moons. A planet with many moons is also an appositive, but we added only one comma here. So what's the difference between this appositive and that appositive? Simply, this one is called a middle appositive. So this is med appositive. But this one is a final appositive. This is final appositive. Okay. So if I have a final appositive, we simply add one comma before it, then the sentence ends with a period. If we have a middle appositive, as in here, George Orwell, a famous novelist is a middle appositive, so we need to add two commas or two em dashes, as you will see later, before and after. Now, look at this question. You have a minute. You can send the answers. It is non-essential, exactly. Thank you. It is something like the non-essential. It's not a non-essential clause, actually. It's a non-essential element because non-essentials can be either a phrase or clause or even a word. Okay, good. Thank you. It is B. If we get back here, each year, many species of shorebirds migrate from locations in the southern hemisphere to their breeding grounds in the Arctic. Then, comma, a journey of thousands of kilometers that requires frequent stops. So if we look at this part, a journey of thousands of kilometers, this is a final oppositive, guys. This is a final oppositive. And this final oppositive talks about this migration journey. Okay? It defines this migration journey. Non-essential elements also can be placed between parentheses. As in this example, she's coming to our house after work around 6 o'clock. We can take away that part and the sentence still makes sense. I've seen many changes at our school during the last 3 years. I can also take away that part and the sentence still makes sense. I've seen many changes, most of them for the better, at our school during the last 3 years. Those parts. I receive email, I receive messages. Okay, thank you. Those parts are non-essential, can be taken away, and the sentence makes sense. Okay. How that assessed on the SAT? Now you're given a minute. Please answer the question, then send me the answer via the chat, please. Thank you. Okay, thank you. It is B. It is B. Let's see why. Although well compensated, earning in 2012 a median annual salary of $19,930,000, PAs cost healthcare providers less than do the physicians who might otherwise undertake these tasks. When we take a look at the punctuation here or the boundaries used here, we will find that we have parentheses, and those parentheses are simply enclosing this non-essential element, earning in 2012. And finally, we have a comma here. Who can tell me what's the job of this comma? What's the job of this comma, guys? Yes, you can raise your hand. You can send via the chat. Why do we have this comma here? Separating the independent and dependent sentence? No. It has okay, it offsets the modifier. Okay, good. This is okay, this is actually the best answer. But there's also something that we've discussed, which is this is an initial phrase, initial modifier phrase. So well compensated is a participial modifier, participial phrase. Now we have an initial participial phrase. So this initial participial phrase works as a modifier to PAs. And that's why we add a comma after it. Thank you. Now, answer number 2, please. You have a minute. Yes, very good. It is D. Thank you. Thank you. Why? Because, for example, is a non-essential element that can be placed between the two commas. Guys, please, if it's not quiet around you, mute yourself. Thank you. Guys, please mute yourself. It's not quiet around you. We have other non-essential elements. Here, we're not dealing with phrases. We are dealing with clauses. The relative clause, exactly. And you know now what do you mean by a non-essential element. So the non-essential element is something like non-restrictive, something that we can sorry, something that we can omit from the sentence and the sentence still makes sense. And we said also that we can use two commas, parentheses, and here we're going to add the non-essential element between em dashes or commas. Okay, the flowers, which look beautiful in that vase, were a gift from Nick. So, which look beautiful in that vase is non-essential. Which look beautiful in that vase here is non-essential too. And this non-essential element is placed between either two commas or two em dashes. What's the trick on the SAT? On the SAT, in the question, you might have em dash, and in the choices, you will have commas, or em dash in the question and parentheses in the choices. That's incorrect. That's wrong. These are two wrong. These are two wrong sentences. So as you see here, two em dashes or commas, this is the only correct organization. Okay, so the verdict is we need to have either two commas, two em dashes, or parentheses. Consider this example, please. Now you have a minute. Then you can send your questions to the chat or raise your hand. Thank you. It is B. It is B. Good. So here we have parentheses and we need to have parentheses here. Why don't we go for D? Why D is incorrect? Why D is incorrect? Raise your hand. Why do you think D is incorrect? Exactly. The first part is not independent. A large quantities is a phrase. And we use this only in the case of independent clause. So the first part is a phrase. It's not even a clause. Thank you. Number 2. Okay. Answers? Okay. I've received C and B, D, and A. Okay. Listen, guys. Listen. The person chosen for these tasks painted the cats in the style traditionally used by portrait artists. Okay. Now, the missing element is not essential, basically. So we need comma before and comma after. So what's wrong with A? A is wrong, actually, because digital artist is a title Ilda Zakirov is a proper noun. So if I have a title and a proper noun, I don't have to add any punctuation between the title and proper noun. And we'll see that later. So for example, Professor X, I don't have to add colons. I don't have to add comma. I don't have to add anything. So it's Professor X without anything in between. Okay? So that's why also B is wrong. Now let's look at C and D. D is the only correct answer. Why? Because digital artist Eldar Zakirov, the title and the proper noun, both of them are together without any sort of punctuation here. This is the first thing. The second thing is we have two commas, one before and one after the non-essential element. So the correct answer is D. Now go to number 3, please. Okay. So C, B, some of you sent C. Okay. No, the correct answer is actually B. Why? If we start with, sorry?
If you see,
If we start with M dash, we need to end with M dash 2. Popularized in a series of paintings by American artist C.M. Coolidge, and finally another M dash. It's okay, no problem. Now, any questions? Assalamu alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I have to care about. Okay, no problem, inshallah. So to access, somebody asked to tell you how to access this later, inshallah. To access this, simply go to satblueprint.org, and satblueprint.org is my website. There, click courses, and I'll upload this session here under Digital SAT Demo course. This is a free course, totally free course. You can just sign up to the website and enroll to this course. Okay? And in this course, you will find the other sessions that I had before. Okay? I hope that this is clear. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Thank you. Now let's continue. Uh, we have also non-essential participial phrases. The participial phrase is in the SAT is out of, we have three options. Either it comes before the main clause, as in here, or in the middle of the sentence, or after the main clause. Before the main clause, like have napped, the 4-year-old was ready to play. So who was ready to play? It's who napped? It's the 4-year-old. Okay? So now this is the first part of the sentence, then comma, the participial uh sorry, when will the session end and how much time will it take? Okay, like it's an hour. Inshallah, it will end like after 30 minutes. So have a nap is an initial participial phrase, and after that we have the main clause. Or it can be middle, in the middle of the sentence, like the Tiwa performer having dressed like an Apache. Having dressed like an Apache is a participial phrase, took part in the deer dance. So having dressed like an Apache is describing the Tiwa performer. Finally, and this is actually the most frequent one on the SAT, which is the final participial phrase, as in here. Aristotle defined tragedy as the imitation of an action that's serious and complete through pity and fear, asserting the power of tragedy as a powerful imitation. So asserting the power of tragedy as a powerful imitation is a final participial, and it defines Aristotle. But our point here is that this is a final one, right? And it should be, we should have a comma before it. And as you see, that this comma came inside the quotation marks. So quotation marks and comma. So any punctuation, this is a tip for all of you guys. Any punctuation mark which is outside the quotation mark is wrong. Look at this question, look at this example also. Albert Einstein, and finally highlighting the significance of creativity in shaping our understanding of the world. So comma, and the comma is still inside the quotation marks. Now answer this question, please. You have two questions here, so you can send the answer of the two questions together. Thank you. Okay, thank you guys. The professor defined pollution as damage caused to water, air, etc. by harmful substances or waste, highlighting the effect. So here, this one is the only correct answer because as you see here, just a second. Okay. So, because as you see here, we have quotation marks. This is the first part of the quotation. This is the last part of the quotation, and the comma is inside. So any comma outside is wrong. This is totally wrong because the comma is outside. This is a bug, actually. And the students who are taking the course with me, they know exactly what do you mean by a bug. This is A also is a bug. Okay? Number two is A because here we have a comma and the first part of the quotation mark, the second part. C is wrong and D is wrong because C is wrong, D is wrong, D is a bug actually. But why C is wrong? Who can tell us why C is wrong? Why C is wrong? However, we have a comma here and semicolon here or quotation mark here.
C is wrong because like the semicolon it creates a fragment, and the other part like its remarkable ability to escape from enclosed space. Like here is no verb if I give the semicolon there.
Exactly.
The
There's no
verb that
need for this semicolon. Very good. There's no need for this semicolon. Semicolon is used only between two independent clauses. Exactly. Thank you. Now, number three.
A
B, A. Exactly. It is
A.
A. Yes. Somebody sent D. Actually, D is wrong because of the colons here. Emphasizing the, there's no need to add any colons here. There's no need to add colons here. Adding colons here is wrong. Okay. I'll skip that part because there's one important thing that I would like to discuss with you guys, which is the SAT trick with however. There's a frequent SAT trick with however and though. Now, I'll give you a minute. Try to answer this question, please. And let's see how to approach this question type.
during the English neoclassical period, 1996.
Somebody's asking for math. Actually, no, I'm a specialized English teacher. Thank you. Yes, good. The answer is C. This question is repeated in the question bank and I've seen it in many leak tests. Unfortunately, the test is questions with the same idea in many leak tests. So the point here is we usually go for however like this. So we know that however is preceded by a semicolon and followed by a comma, or full stop and followed by a comma. This is what we all know about however. Okay, I'll tell you why is it C now. This is all what we know about however, but there's an SAT trick with however. So in any question that you will find however or though, so the question should look suspicious to you. Why? Because you need to find the trick. In this organization, which is we know as the traditional organization of however, we have an independent clause here and another independent clause here, right? And the two independent clauses should be contradictory in meaning. There should be a paradox between this one and that one. Okay? Here also independent and another independent, and both of them are against each other's. In that case, in that organization, we don't have two sentences. We have three sentences. Okay? In those three sentences, we have an independent clause, then full stop, then another independent clause. Okay? And the second independent clause ends with however, then full stop or semicolon, whatever you want, and a third independent clause. So here, the contradiction that we're searching for is between that sentence and that sentence. The contradiction in meaning is between that sentence and that sentence. It's not between the second and third sentence. It's between one and two. Okay. However, can be at the end of the second sentence, can be at the end of the second sentence to indicate that there's a contradiction between one and two. Okay. This is less common organization, but this is one of the SAT tricks. To make this clear, read these sentences, please. And by the way, a lot of you are using that organization, but in spoken English, not a written English. Everyone thought the plan was perfect. Now, full stop. This is an independent clause. And there's another independent clause. Okay? And we have a full stop here. It encountered numerous challenges, though. So, the here shows that sentence one and sentence two are two contradictory sentences. And though here came as a final word. Look at number two. The team had practiced tirelessly for months. Full stop. They didn't win the tournament. So this is sentence one, sentence two, and however at the end. So the sentence is basically, however, the team had practiced tirelessly, they didn't win. Or the team has practiced tirelessly, however, they didn't win. But this is one possible organization. Can I add another sentence here? A third sentence here? Yes. Would the third sentence affect the meaning between the first and the second? No. She was new to the city, knew no one. She quickly made friends, though. So this is a final, though. And this is also final, however. Let's get back to our sentence here. During the English neoclassical period, 1660 and 1789, many writers imitated the epic poetry and satire of ancient Greece Rome. They were not the first in England to adopt the literary modes of classical antiquity. Okay? So now they imitated, but they were not the first. However. So however here shows that there is a contradiction between this sentence and that sentence. Some of the most prominent figures, this is actually a continuation in meaning. Some of the most prominent figures in the earlier Renaissance period were also influenced by ancient Greek or Roman literature. This is a continuation in meaning. There is no contradiction. No contradiction. No contradiction between the third, number 3, and number 2 here. Okay? The contradiction is between number 1 and number 2, and it is shown to us by this final, however. Okay? Any questions? Sorry? Guys, do you have any questions? Please mute yourself if it's not quite around you. Thank you. I'm trying to skip things that I assume that you are familiar with, and I try to go to the most challenging parts for you guys. Another skill that's assessed on the SAT on the boundaries is the punctuation of proper nouns and titles. And we said before, there's no need to add any punctuation between proper noun and title. So the title and the proper noun, both of them have nothing in between. So in the SAT, you might have, in his research, Professor Adam Taylor claims that people who read daily have lower levels of stress. The choices might go like colons, comma, semicolon, whatever. All of these are wrong. There's until there's non-essential clause. I didn't get your point actually, Sirkin. I didn't get your point, so please clarify it. Are you talking about the punctuation of proper nouns and titles? Please clarify your point. Thank you. Exactly, D is the correct answer, and this should be the only correct organization of title and proper noun. Look here, guys. Linguist Noam Chomsky, the American linguist Noam Chomsky, claims that there is an innate faculty in our minds that enables us to acquire any language. Linguist is a title, Noam Chomsky is a proper noun. This is a question. Now go on, please. You have a minute. Thank you. The British psychologist Jane Smith. Exactly. It is a thank you. There's another tricky skill, which is integrated and introduced quotation. This is something also that you need to be aware of. We have two types of quotations in English. Integrated quotation, and in this integrated quotation, we don't need any punctuation before it, and introduced quotation. You know you are well mastering the introduced quotation. Introduced quotation simply is a quotation that comes with a signal phrase. Signal phrase like wrote, said, sighed, commented. Okay, Robinson wrote, then I add a comma before the quotation, as you see here. So Robinson wrote, comma, thus fear of danger is 10,000 times more terrifying than danger itself. So here we have a comma before the quotation marks, right? Now, try to answer this question, please. You have a minute, then I get back to the integrated quotation. Thank you. Professor Mann commented, comma, why? Because I have a signal phrase. I have a signal verb. While sugar, and we continue. B is wrong because we have a comma between the title and the proper noun. C is a bug. D is a bug. Now, let's look at this question, this skill, integrated quotation. In integrated quotations, we don't have to add a comma because simply we don't have a signal phrase. In 2021, the Turkish-German scientists Igor Shahin and Özlem Tarashi, who had invented the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, won the Prince of Asturias Award for technical and scientific research, an award that the analyst, Alicia McMurtry. So as you see here, analyst, title, Alicia, proper noun, Turkish-German scientists, title, this is title, Igor Shahin, proper noun, McMurtry, described as is not a signal phrase. The most prestigious science award in the Spanish-speaking world. So here, we don't have a comma. We don't have to add anything because simply this is not a signal phrase. Okay? Now, answer number 1, please. You have a minute. Go 1. How do I know if it's a signal phrase or not? Okay, good. Thank you. This is a good question. What are the signal phrases? Simply, the signal phrase, Khalid, is something like wrote, commented, said, sighed. Those are signal phrases. Those are signal phrases. The signal phrase is a verb, that's placed immediately after the sentence. So yes, thank you guys. It is A because here Albert Einstein refers to the imagination as more important than knowledge. And as you see here, we didn't have, for example, Albert Einstein said. If you have something like that, like said here, imagination is more important than uh, more important than knowledge. This is something else. Okay. Okay, guys, we're done with this part on mechanics. Do you have any questions before we go on, before we shift to something else? Why the end of the quotation we put comma and then quotation signs? Ah, you mean this one? You mean here? Okay, thank you. That's a good question. So here, because we said before that this is a participial phrase, highlighting significance of creativity in shaping our understanding of the world. This is a participial phrase, final participial phrase. Okay? And as long as we have a final participial phrase, we need to set it off the independent clause with a comma. Okay? Any other questions? Is that clear? So please confirm. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Now let's move to, there is part in the book called the Cracking Guide. When should we put comma at the end? I didn't get your point. We don't put comma at the end. You mean here? You mean before the participial phrase? At the end of the quotation. Yeah, if it's not at the end of the quotation. This is not the case. The point is we have here a participial phrase. So the participial phrase is the point. Let me get back to that lesson. The participial phrase is the point. That's why we add a comma, because we have a participial phrase at the end. We're setting off the participial phrase from the rest of the sentence. That's it. Let me get back to that lesson. Give it a quick look before we go to the cracking, the SAT cracking guide. Okay, so this is the participial phrase. Participial phrases, as we said before, are of three kinds. This is the most common one on the SAT. This is the most common one, the final participial phrase. Okay, and the final participial phrase comes usually after a quotation, but this is not always the case, but it's usually. Okay, so as you see here, this is a final participial phrase. How do I know that it's a participial phrase? Because it's a verb that ends with an ing. That's it. Okay. Here also highlighting. So once you have this, you need to add a comma before it. No problem. Now we have something to share with you, which is the SAT cracking guide. The cracking guide is a simple this part is giving you just techniques, simple tips and tricks in order to apply in your test. So for example, in vocabulary in context question, if I have two synonyms, so both of them are wrong. If you have two synonyms, both of them are wrong. So for example here, when we look at the choices, pinnacle means culmination. So both of them are wrong. Okay. In transitions, it's the same in transitions. In transition questions, if I have transitions that are of the same function, with the same function, giving the same function, so all of them are wrong. So moreover, for example, means and. So both of them are wrong. Moreover and are wrong. Okay. In SAT, always go to the concise, to the point answer. As in here, I have and with, and also, and competing with. And means also. And with is redundant. And competing with is redundant. The guys who are taking the course, they know exactly what do mean by redundant. And we've covered this many times together. So redundancy means that we're using too many words to cover the same meaning, in short. Okay? So the answer on the SAT is always concise. In writing mechanics questions, if I have a full stop and semicolon in the choices, in 90% of the cases, it's wrong. Why 90%? Because there's 10% for the semicolon in a complex series. Okay, so when I see these in the choices, both of them are wrong. In rhetorical synthesis questions, we focus on the objective. We focus on the objective of the question. That's it. Focus on the objective. The objective will lead you to the answer, and sometimes you don't even have to read the points. Okay. Any question? Again, in somebody annotated. Okay, so any question that has in the choices comma splice and run-on sentence, any choice that creates comma splice or run-on sentence is wrong. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Hello,
You have any-
excuse me, I have a question. What are you reading right now?
Sorry.
What are you reading right now?
This is the digital SAT cracking guide. This is something that I've designed. It's part of my book. And
What
these are just quick tips and tricks that you can make use of during your test, inshallah.
Oh, okay, thank you. But where I can find it?
Yeah, this is part of my digital SAP Blueprint book. It's the book is can be found online. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So you can go to the website simply and click here. And this is the book. So you can access the book through this platform. It's called Kutubi.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, guys. So let's get back. In the reading questions, be aware of half right, half wrong answers in direct comprehension questions. So some of the choices, and those are always the bugs. Those are always the bugs. Some of the choices are half wrong, half right. Half wrong, half right. And that's wrong. Okay. In text structure and text purpose, make sure that if it's an experiment, there are some sentence signals. Experiment or study, if you're being asked about experiment or study, so it's an evidence. You're searching for an evidence. If there's a telescope, microscope, survey, scientific tool, you're searching for a method of research or methodology. If there's a past date, or dates back from centuries, so we're talking about historical or past events. Okay. Any choice with a comma or semicolon after and is always wrong. So choices like these, and semicolon and comma, that's always wrong. Those are bugs. Okay. Choices with quotation marks. So if I have quotation marks in the choices like these, punctuation is always inside the quotation mark. So quotation marks, so the full stop should be inside. Quotation marks, comma inside. So anything like that is absolutely wrong. Okay? I don't have to even look at the question to discover that. Okay? In some questions, we need to read the prompt first. What about semicolon before and its function? Okay, this is a different story. Don't worry. In reading the prompt first, in reading comprehension questions, we need to read the prompt or the question first. In paired passages question, we need to read the question first. In command of evidence questions, we need to read the question first. In rhetorical synthesis questions, we need to read the question first. I had a question here asking about semicolon before and, right? Now let's get back to a semicolon in a complex series. This is what you're asking for. Using a semicolon in the punctuation of items in a complex series. Look here. I have and I have a semicolon before it. Okay? Why? Our testing system should meet 3 requirements: asserting the students' mixed abilities and their academic skills, semicolon, ensuring the highest levels of equality among learners, semicolon, and giving a credible image to the teachers. Can you see this comma? School administrators and parents. Here, this is what we call a complex series. One of my students is always calling it a list within a list, or a complex list. So why do we call it like that? Because we have here 2 lists. One main list, which is separated by the semicolons. And sorry, this one is not a main list. One main list separated by semicolons, and sub list, which is using commas, as in here. Teachers, comma, school administrators, comma, and parents. Okay. So this example would help I've been to many places like Madrid, Barcelona, Spain. So here, Madrid, Barcelona city. This is a city, and this is a country. So we have a comma here. I can't add another comma here. This is going to be very, very confusing, right? So that's why we add a semicolon. Berlin, comma, Frankfurt, comma, Munich, comma, Germany. So now I know that here, city, 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 and finally a country. Okay, so I can't add another comma here. This would be confusing because I'm grouping information and I'm creating lists within lists. So semicolon, Rome, Naples, and Florence, Italy, again, semicolon. Why do we use semicolons here? However, we don't have two independent clauses because this is one of the rare uses of semicolons in non-independent clauses. Okay? Do you have any other questions? Is it clear now?
I have a question.
Yes?
Can you please demonstrate your screen because I cannot see anything?
You can't see anything? Why?
Yes,
My screen shared.
I don't know. I only see your face.
No, how that? My screen shared. So maybe you need to go to the screen. Guys, do you have the same problem?
No.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you're not. Maybe there's something wrong with your Zoom or something.
Okay.
Have you checked?
Yes, I'm going to check it right now.
Oh, yes, please. Okay, look at these two examples. The conference agenda includes the following sessions. And here we have columns, digital marketing, comma, focusing on SEO and SEM, semicolon, content. So digital marketing includes focusing on SEO and SEM, semicolon, content strategy, including emphasizing the storytelling and audience engagement, semicolon, web analytics, including covering data analysis and interpretation, semicolon, and user experience. So as you see here, semicolon, and is the final part. Okay, do you have any questions, guys? Any other questions before we go? Okay, thank you. Now, if you want to access this session, simply go to satblueprint.org, enter satblueprint.org, and you will then go to courses. And after that, we have here. This course is free and always will be, like Facebook. Digital SAT demo course, just go create an account first. You need to create an account first, then enroll in the course, then you will see the session, inshallah.
English na fama.
Sorry, I didn't get your point.
So how you English?
Sorry? Okay. So you'll find this here. And if you're interested in a digital copy of the digital SAT blueprint, go to the same website and click this poster here. It will take you to Kutubi platform. Kutubi means my books in Arabic. Kutubi platform, and it will allow you to purchase a digital copy of the digital SAT blueprint. Okay, guys, do you have any other questions? The digital copy will appear to you in that way, where you can annotate, answer the questions, and everything is saved after you're done with it. Also, so you can, alhamdulillah, a lot of students got the book and they prepared from the book, and their review also was their reviews also were very, very positive. So if you have any questions, please let me know before we leave. Thank you very much. Thank you for teaching us without no, 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 no. It's okay. Thank you. No problem. That's I just want you to make dua for me. That's it. Thank you. Okay, guys, do you have any questions? Thank you very much for that. I was really happy to be with you, and actually was amazed to know that a lot of you are from Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Africa, Morocco, Saudi Arabia. It's actually one of the best things that happened to me today that have students from all over the world. Thank you very much for that. See you inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Goodbye.
See you. Bye.